Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping into something that's, both super personal and incredibly powerful, building a truly effective prayer life. Now, prayer can sometimes feel a little mysterious, right? But the really cool thing is, our source material gives us this awesome, practical path, one that can take prayer from just an idea and turn it into a real daily habit. So, let's dive in.
So, here's how we're going to break it all down. First up, we're going to lay the foundation. What even is prayer, really? Then we'll get super practical with the how. After that, we'll look at a simple framework to make it a consistent daily thing. And finally, we're going to tackle those common roadblocks that can trip us up. It's a clear roadmap from just understanding it to actually living it.
All right, let's get started. Section 1, the foundation of prayer. Because before you can really jump into the how-to, you've got to get a solid grip on the what and the why. It all starts here.
So let's kick things off with a big question. One you've probably thought about. Is prayer just talking at God, like a cosmic voicemail where we leave a list of all our needs and wants? Well, the perspective here is that it's actually something much, much deeper.
And right here, this is the absolute core of it all. Prayer isn't a monologue, it's a two-way spiritual conversation. It's where our spirit genuinely connects with God's spirit. The huge mind shift is that it's not just about what we're broadcasting out to God, it's about creating that quiet space to actually hear what He might be saying back. It's a real two-way street.
So this really reframes prayer, doesn't it? It's less about a specific action and more about an attitude. It's a posture of the heart. It means intentionally drawing near to God. Sharing your heart wide open, the good and the bad, just like David did in the Psalms. Then there's that tough part, waiting patiently on Him and ultimately surrendering to His will. These are the ingredients for that genuine connection.
Okay, so what's the point? Why should we even do this? Well, at its very core, it's about relationship. It's about fellowship with God. It's also a powerful way to acknowledge that, hey, we don't have it all together. We depend on Him. It's a discipline for our souls. And on a super practical level, it's the main way God steps in to meet our needs.
All right, so now that we've got that solid foundation, let's roll up our sleeves and get practical. Part 2 is all about the practice of prayer. We're talking the when, the where, and the how that turns this big idea into something you can actually do. So when's the best time? Yeah, you've got the classic morning, noon, and evening slots, and those are great. But this idea of praying continuously is a real game changer. And no, that doesn't mean you have to be on your knees 24/7. It's more like keeping an open line of communication with God throughout your entire day, just staying connected.
And what about where to pray? Man, I love this part because it just shatters the idea that you have to be in a certain building. Just look at these examples from the Bible. A private room, a public riverside, a quiet spot on the beach, a lonely place out in nature, the top of a mountain. The big takeaway here, that connection with God can and should happen absolutely anywhere.
Yeah, people pray in all sorts of ways, right? Kneeling, standing, walking around. But the source material makes this really crucial point. What you're doing with your body is way less important than where your heart and mind are focused. The real key is your concentration on the Lord.
Okay, so what do we actually say when we pray? Well, a great way to think about it is like a balanced diet. You need these 4 key food groups for a really healthy prayer life. You've got praise and thanksgiving. Then there's confession, which keeps our hearts clear. You have intercession, where we're praying for other people. And of course, petition, where we bring our own needs to God. A healthy prayer life has a little bit of all 4.
All right, this is where the rubber meets the road. Part 3, building a daily habit. Because look, knowing all this stuff is great, but actually doing it every single day, that's the real mountain to climb, right? Well, to help us out, we're going to look at a super simple but really powerful framework from Pastor Jack Hayford.
And this model is just so good. It's super practical and easy to remember. So you start with step 1. Thanksgiving and praise. You're basically just offering up yourself and your worship for the day. Step 2 is confession and cleansing, where you invite God to search your heart and make things right. Step 3, order and obedience. This is where you offer up your day, your schedule, your plans to Him. And finally, step 4 is intercession, offering up the world by praying for the needs of others. It's such a complete way to start every day. And that brings us to our last section, and it's a big one. Overcoming obstacles. Because let's be real for a second. We've all been there, right? Wondering, why does it feel like my prayers are just hitting the ceiling? Let's dig into some really direct biblical insights on this. This quote from John Wesley is, wow. It's kind of provocative, isn't it? The idea here is that our prayers aren't just some passive, hopeful wish. They're an active force that can literally unlock God's work here on earth. And if that's true, then it's absolutely critical that we figure out what might be getting in the way.
So what gets in the way? Well, this isn't just guesswork or some random theory. The Bible is actually super clear about specific things that can block our prayers. But the good news is, it also gives us the keys to unlock everything. So let's check out a few of them.
Okay, let's dive into two of the heavy hitters. First up, unbelief. The key? We're told to ask in faith without wavering or second-guessing. And the second one is huge, unforgiveness. The principle is crystal clear. If we're holding on to bitterness, it creates a blockage. We've got to be willing to forgive others, just as we've been forgiven. It's a direct connection.
All right, here are a couple more big ones to watch out for. One is asking with the wrong motives. Are we asking for something just for our own selfish gain, or is it really for God's glory? And the other is unconfessed sin. There's a verse in Psalms that says, if we cherish sin in our hearts, the Lord won't listen. But here's the really encouraging part. Every single one of these hindrances is something we can actively deal with. We have the power to change them.
And so all of this, it really boils down to one final challenging question for you and for me. After everything we've looked at, the why, the how, the daily habits, the roadblocks, it all comes down to this. What in your life could genuinely change if prayer became your first response to everything instead of just your last resort? Something to think about. Thanks so much for joining us for this explainer.